Victoria, in her designer heels, watches as the security guard ushers me into the elevator, the sound of clicking footsteps echoing across the executive floor, and behind her, my father stands in the doorway of his office, silent and unmoving, just as he was throughout my childhood. "I told you this would happen eventually," Victoria called out behind me. "You never belonged here, Olivia. You were just the maid's daughter, playing dress-up in a world where you didn't belong." Because my stepmother finally found a way to get rid of me, James, the security guard, presses the elevator button with an apologetic look on his face. He's known me since I was a teenager and watched me grow up in these halls. "I'm so sorry, Miss Olivia," he whispers. "It's not right." Victoria's giggle follows me into the elevator. "Don't forget to clean out your desk. There's probably nothing worth keeping, just like your mother." When the elevator doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of my father still standing there, still not saying a word. Some things never change. My mother was the Martins' housekeeper. By the time she met my father, their affair had scandalized Houston's elite social circles. The rich businessmen fell in love with the help, but they married anyway, and for a few short years we were happy. Within a year, Victoria was bringing her designer clothes and social connections, determined to erase any trace of the woman who came before her. I walked to my office, my former office, now ignoring the shock and whispers of my coworkers. My team looked frustrated. They knew what this meant. Victoria would replace me with someone of her choosing, probably the children of her socialite friends who knew nothing about how the company actually operated. It wasn't fair. You did more for the company than anyone else. I started packing my personal belongings into a suitcase, my movements calm and deliberate. Life isn't always fair, Sarah. But sometimes what seems like an end is actually a beginning. What would you do? "Don't worry about me," I said with a slight smile. "I've been preparing for this day for longer than Victoria realized. In fact, I've known this day was coming. Victoria has been trying to get rid of me for years, but I've been too good at my job, too valuable to the company's success, and she couldn't find a reason. What Victoria doesn't know is that I've been keeping track of everything she's been up to, every one of her illegal transactions. Every penny she's been siphoning out of the company's accounts. Every penny she siphoned from the company's accounts, every dirty deal she orchestrated behind my father's back. I learned from my mother that sometimes the best offense is patient observation and meticulous record keeping. I pulled out my cell phone and dialed a familiar number. "Daniel, it's time. Are you ready?" Daniel Chin has been my best friend since college and is now one of Houston's top corporate attorneys. He's spent the last 2 years helping me prepare for my case against Victoria. "Everything's ready." Victoria's case, everything's ready. He's confirmed the evidence. "Are you sure you want to do this?" "I'm sure," I spoke firmly. Victoria thought she'd finally gotten over the embarrassing memories of my father's first marriage, but she was about to learn that underestimating me was the biggest mistake she could have ever made. I sat in my apartment that night reviewing all the documents we'd gathered. It was all a shocking collection of offshore accounts, fraudulent contracts, years of financial maneuvering that would have made any auditor's head spin. My cell phone buzzed and I got messages from my team offering me their support and resigning. They offer their support, offer to resign, and protest me, promising to help in any way they can, and I appreciate their loyalty, but I tell them not to do anything rash, that I need eyes and ears inside the company for what happens next. I hugged her back, breathing in the familiar scent of her perfume, the same perfume my mother used to wear. "It's okay, Maria, I'm okay." She looked back into my face with knowing eyes. "You have the same expression your mother used to have when she was planning something." Her eyes widened even more as she flipped through the papers. "My God, how long have you been collecting these papers?" I haven't heard her say anything about getting rid of me since the day I ended it, I said. "I remember the moment 2 years ago when I overheard the recording of Victoria's phone call. She said that I was a disgrace to the family but that she'd never rest until I was gone. Just like your mother," Maria said quietly. "She'd done the same thing to Anna, you know, made her life so hard that she felt she had to resign. Even before she got sick, I didn't know." "I know." She didn't know that while she was planning my fall, I was planning something much bigger, and the next morning, I meticulously dressed in my best suit that my father had given me when I was promoted to Director of Operations. Victoria may have thought that I was just the maid's daughter, but I was Richard Martinez's daughter, and it was time for everyone to remember that. I checked my cell phone texts from Daniel to make sure everything was in place, updates from allies within the company, and a missed call from my father that I ignored. She taught me to fight for myself, to fight for what was right, and Victoria was about to find out exactly what that meant. I whispered and headed for the door. It was time to take back everything Victoria thought she could steal from me. I thought about how many times I'd sat in that room doing my quarterly reports with Victoria watching me like a hawk, waiting for me to make a mistake, Daniel texting, ready to go, and me replying. Maria made me come in through the service entrance, like she used to do when I was a kid when I'd go to visit my father at work. And now she'd given me a hard stare before pointing to the private stairwell that led up to the executive floor and saying to me, Victoria continued, her voice tinged with faux sympathy. We all wanted to believe Richard's daughter despite her humble beginnings, but the evidence was overwhelming. She clicked on the first slide of the presentation. Doctored bank statements and forged documents made it sound like I'd been stealing from the company for years. That's what I was implying as I pushed open the door to the conference room and Daniel walked in right behind me. As if I were the master of the house. You were right about one thing, Victoria. The evidence was overwhelming. The room went into chaos. Victoria's face turned pale before she angrily shouted at the security guard, "This is a private meeting." Daniel stepped forward and placed his briefcase on the table. As the company's legal counsel, I've invited Ms. Martinez to present some evidence of her own. My father finally spoke. His voice was tired. Olivia, what are you doing here? Victoria smiled, but I could hear the tension behind her. This is ridiculous. The board has seen the evidence of her crimes. I proceeded to pull out my own documents. I was here to show the board what Victoria had done with the company's money over the last 5 years. The evidence is overwhelming. The proof is hard and it's nonsense. Victoria is incoherent, but her perfect composure is devastating. Richard, would you let her do this to us? My father is sitting there looking older than I've ever seen him. Is that true, Victoria? Of course not. She's lying just like her mother always did, he whispered. Don't you dare talk about Anna like that. Victoria must have realized her mistake because she changed her tactics very quickly. Richard, my dear, she's just trying to cause trouble. You know, she's always been jealous of our relationship just like you're jealous of my mother. I'm so jealous. I'm making her life so miserable. Victoria's eyes narrowed. This cleaning lady. You. Victoria's eyes narrowed. The cleaning lady, and you now believe the servants' gossip? I said calmly, I believe in evidence, like this recording of a conversation from last month. My father stood up slowly, hands trembling, and said to Victoria, Richard, get out. His voice was hoarse as thunder. Security will escort you out of the building. The police have been notified of the fraud. Victoria looked around frantically but found no allies. The board members were already examining the evidence. In the silence that followed, her perfect composure was finally broken. My father turned to me. Olivia, I don't know, I said softly, not now, there's work to be done. The next few hours were a blur of police statements, emergency board meetings and damage control. Victoria had been arrested while trying to board a private jet to the Cayman Islands, and the company's legal team had spent a lot of time trying to recover the stolen funds. My father asked, and I nodded, gesturing to the chair across from my desk, and he sat down heavily, somehow looking older and lighter than ever. I can't change the past, but I want you to know that your mother would be proud of you, not just for exposing Victoria, but for everything you've built here, everything you've become. I looked at him dumbfounded. Dad, you deserve this, Olivia, not because you're my daughter, but because you're the best person for the job. You protected the company when I couldn't, and you deserve to lead it. The changes we've made are already paying off with transparency initiatives, a new code of ethics, a foundation that provides educational opportunities for employees' children. As I looked out over the crowd, I saw Maria beaming proudly in the background. In my mind's eye, I saw my mother, not as she was when she was sick, but as she was when I was little, strong, caring, unafraid to stand up for what was right, the way Victoria had thought she could erase us, her daughter, the embarrassing past she wanted to forget, and instead, she only made us stronger. As I finished my speech and the room erupted in applause, I touched the small cookbook in my pocket. My mother's legacy was now mine to carry on. Victoria had never understood that true strength comes not from money, status, or power, but from knowing who you are and standing firm in your beliefs no matter what the storms that come your way.